Hi guys, my name is JT,
And my name is Elsie.
and welcome to our second video of our F1 British Week. This is the week where we build up to the British Grand Prix, which is happening on Sunday, and literally we are really excited for this particular Grand Prix. It is our home Grand Prix as well, our home nation, so
Yep.
massive build up to this. In this episode, we are going to talk about our favourite British Grand Prix over the years, not some that we've necessarily been to or watched ourselves. This is what me and Elsie have both picked as British Grand Prix that we liked, but also maybe stand out as well. And I want to kick things off with a very early British Grand Prix. It wasn't held at Silverstone, but in my opinion, I think this was a very key Grand Prix for one particular driver. This is the 1962 British Grand Prix. It was held at Aintree, obviously famous for horse racing, but back in the day, it did hold the British Grand Prix, and it was won by Jim Clark. Obviously, as you all know, Jim Clark, my favourite F1 driver. That's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this Grand Prix. But the other reason why I'm talking about this one is that this is his first win at the British Grand Prix, and also one of 5 he would go on to win, and also become the most successful British driver at the British Grand Prix. He's won it the most times of any British driver, and honestly, massive achievement for him. And he won it by 49.2 seconds, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. It was an exciting race. Nothing really major happened. Everything was fine. So again, it wasn't really a race, to be really remembered. I'm only picking this Grand Prix because Jim Clark won this Grand Prix for the very first time. Now, it was a very long circuit. I would say about this Aintree circuit in '62. It got pole position by a 1 minute 53. So obviously you can see how long this race was. It was also 75 laps. This race was. So again, that is a long race. I think it was about 2.5 hours. This Grand Prix was held. So obviously a lot of anticipation on these drivers as well. Came in second place for that was John Surtees, another British driver. Bruce McLaren came in third, and obviously Jim Clark, closest mate, Graham Hill came in at P4. But at this point, Jim Clark was just still getting used to his roots in Formula One. He hadn't really made a name for himself. Nobody really expected much of him. Obviously, the next year after '62, he would go on to win his first World Championship and possibly just dominate the sport, become an absolute icon of this. But I would say probably this Grand Prix, sort of showed Jim Clark, right? This young man is going to become a very big name in Formula One. He's going to do very successful things as well at this particular sport, and obviously he will go on to do that. So I have seen a little bit of footage on this circuit, some pictures here and there. Obviously, when Jim Clark won it and that, it just looks absolutely tremendous. Not only to win a Grand Prix, but to win your home Grand Prix, and also for the first time to then also become the most successful driver at the British Grand Prix. Again, that is just absolutely tremendous, an absolutely tremendous achievement.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh yeah, but I mean, absolutely fantastic. So that is one of the Grand Prix that we are talking about, 1962. So Elsie, that's my first one. What is your one? What is your one of your favourite?
What an amazing race that was by a British driver. So the next race,
Exactly.
the race I'm going to talk about, which is one of my favourites, is the 1995 British Grand Prix. Now this was held at Silverstone. Very small, low key at that point. There were 6 British drivers on the grid. And the winner was a very obscure one. Out of those 6, the one that they wanted to win is Damon Hill, of course. Obviously, the Williams driver. He'd been the strong leader of the team with Williams, obviously since the death of Ayrton Senna in 1994, going for his World Championship. That was not out there yet. He was also the only man who could halt Michael Schumacher, obviously who won the championship in 1994. He was going for it in 1995. So they headed into this race, and they were both at each other's throats. Michael Schumacher was leading the World Championship, and Damon Hill was closely catching him. Obviously, if Michael won, he would have extended his lead at the top, and if Damon won, he would have got to the top, overtaking Michael Schumacher. So it was definitely a rivalry to watch. They were around mid-race distance, they crashed into each other, taking each other out. It's almost like a premonition of what happened in Spain.
Exactly.
JT, between Lewis and Nico, and they both crashed out, which was terrible for those, obviously terrible for the British fans who came out to watch Damon Hill. But there was still obviously other British drivers in the race, and the race was won by Damon Hill's rival team, Michael Schumacher's teammate, obviously, and also a fellow compatriot to Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert. Now, Johnny was around for quite a long time in Formula 1. He didn't win many races, but the races that he won were very stand out. So he finished in first place on the grid, obviously in car number 2 after teammates with Michael, the winner of the 1994 championship. In second place was French driver John Alesi, which held an amazing race to finish second for Ferrari. It was such a resurgent Ferrari and a great drive by him to get into that position. Maybe opened up by those two crashing into each other and causing almost like a controversial season until the end and bringing the fight until the end. But it was great to see. So his second place was amazing, and third place was another British driver in David Coulthard, obviously for the Williams, the teammate of Damon Hill. So Benetton and Williams keeping things, still alive, but obviously, so people expected the Benetton and the Williams to finish on the podium, but did they think that it was going to be the number 2 drivers finishing the race? Obviously, Johnny Herbert for Benetton and then David Coulthard for Williams. So it was an amazing race for them. Only one more driver for McLaren called Mark Blundell finished in the points for them in 5th place. It was an amazing race. It was an amazing spectacle to see. See Damon Hill, unfortunately, not getting his result, but a win for a British driver. And that's probably the first and the most important thing that you think of when you go to Britain, you go to Silverstone, you go to any race around the world. Really, if a patron wins the race. If someone from that country wins the race, it's amazing, like Jim Clark did in '62 and like Johnny did in '95. It's just amazing. Obviously, the crowds are amazing for that. And to see a British driver on the top step, which, by the way, has happened less times than a driver has actually been on pole. So there's been more British drivers on pole than there has British drivers winning the race at Silverstone.
Good attack for you guys.
Which, unfortunately, is a bit of a curse, maybe, if you look at it like that. But obviously... It was a shame for that because Damon Hill was on pole position with Max Schumacher second and David Coulthard third. The first 3 on qualifying. So Damon thought it was going to be a very easy win for him, but unfortunately it wasn't. But 95 really stands out as an amazing race for me because it was a British winner. It was Johnny Herbert, obviously someone who I really like. He's a pundit for Sky Sports F1. He really comes across really, really canny.
Exactly.
And British driver Benetton, a really strong team on that. And he kept Benetton alive in the Constructors' World Championship, obviously with a sole 10 points to go in that race, which obviously, because of Michael crashing out, could have been 0. So obviously well done to him. And it was and to see him on the podium, which was obviously his sweetest podium. I think he only was on the podium about 8 times in his career, something like that. But obviously that would have been the best in front of his home crowd. And the lead Benetton driver, which he only did maybe 1 or 2 times in his career. So 95... Great race.
Obviously Johnny Herbert was a driver that never really had a chance of winning the World Championship. He wasn't really up there. He wasn't really a regular winner. So to actually win a Grand Prix, but not just any Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix. So again, that just makes everything so much special. It's something that you're probably not going to see that much these days because obviously there's not really that much British drivers on the grid. The ones that are, they've already been there, done that type of thing. I think, and obviously, I don't think hopefully we might see that in the future a bit so we can feel that emotion of what Johnny Herbert felt, and obviously what then fans felt being there, but also watch it on the TV
and
as well.
And 2 British drivers on the podium, which is amazing.
Oh, exactly. So again, double bubble. We all love it. But so that's one of LC's races. The other one that I'm going to talk about, a race that stands out for me and probably stands out for everybody, not if you're British or not, is the 2008 British Grand Prix. Now, I think you all know why I've chosen this Grand Prix. Was because obviously it was Lewis Hamilton's first win at winning his home race, and what a race it was! Not only was it because Hamilton won, it was just how dramatic the race was because it was raining, obviously, as it does in Britain. If you live here, trust me, we are all good swimmers. I'm surprised we haven't won many golds in swimming, if I'm honest with you. But that's Britain for you. So again, it was traditional rain. Lewis Hamilton started that race 4th. His teammate Hitty Kovalainen started on pole position, and Hitty Kovalainen had a dreadful race. He just kept going offline, slipping here and there. There was loads of drivers going off. I mean, Raikkonen, Massa, even Hamilton had a few occasions. Heifeld, Barrichello, there was loads of drivers all over the place. Button as well. Just literally skidding all over the place. 1 minute it was like dry tyres, next minute it was wet. So it was just a very mixed race all the way around. But Lewis Hamilton kept his nerve, got his strategy spot on, drove superbly, and obviously to come across the line to win his first British Grand Prix.
Yes.
I mean, probably the image of him, or the video of him going over that line where he's doing that, and he's going absolutely crazy, is probably one of the most famous images in Formula One. And I'll probably put this down as probably one of the most famous races, not only for the British Grand Prix, but for Formula One altogether. Just how dramatic that race was. It was almost like replica to what would happen, more down the line in that season, towards the end of the season in 2008 Brazil, where Hamilton won his Grand Prix. Again, it was raining. He overtook him on the last corner. You couldn't make that up. Again, like this Grand Prix, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
It was written in the stars for Hamilton to win this race. And again, he just came into Formula One at this point. It was kind of a rookie, very close to winning the championship in his first year. Very, very impressive, let's say. So in this season rather, again, he had so much hype and so much determination to win, to get another chance of winning that title, which credit to him, he did. And obviously, he would win it again in 2014 and again in 2015. Now, you've probably seen a little bit of a pattern going on here. So he wins the British Grand Prix 2008, he wins the championship. He wins again in 2014, he wins the championship. Same again in 2015. Can the same be said for 2016?
Well,
I mean, who knows?
It really depends. Can it be won by Hamilton and he wins the championship, or could it be won by his teammate Nico Rosberg who wins the championship? And
that would be very controversial.
Yeah. And speaking of Nico, we're going to move on to a race where it's a bit different to the other three that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
Because no British driver won it. But I've decided to talk about this one because it is such an eventful race. Now, as Formula One fans, we love an eventful race. We love safety cars, we love red flags, we love crashes, we love, and that's very sinister to say.
we love crashes to a certain extent, where the drivers do not get hurt.
But we love, obviously.
Yeah.
But we love controversy. I mean, a bit like Europe, when that was on.
Yeah.
A boring safe race with nothing, with boring. We don't like that. So we head into 2013, and the Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, is in full swing. You have Lewis Hamilton, who is in his first race, his first season with Mercedes. Obviously, at that point, still in the V8 era, and Sebastian domination. You think, what's going to happen here? Really strong by them. So Lewis lines up on pole position with Nico behind, so Mercedes 1-2, and then a Red Bull 1-2 of Sebastian. Behind them 3-4. Red Bull 3-4, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber.
Yeah.
So Lewis Hamilton leads them into the first corner, and around halfway through the lap. When you're watching the telly, halfway through the lap, it goes bang, and then he skids across the road and he's out. He's got a puncture.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just a normal puncture. It was a tyre fail. It was a tyre failure and a tyre delamination, which was only known after the race. But he came into the pits, and obviously it was hanging off. It'd come off the belt, which it normally does. Now, this happened a lot more times in the event, such as Felipe Massa. He span off, going over a drain. He had a tyre failure, span.
Yeah.
Jean-Eric Verne, on the main straight. There was also Sergio Perez, which again, this is another iconic picture in Formula One. Sergio Perez has one on one of the highest speed straight in Formula One, heading into the Sector 3, and he was millimetres away from hitting Fernando Alonso's head, which I see was great to avoid. So that was just amazing. There was tyre blowouts here and there and everywhere, and no one could really put the minds to what was actually going on. So you had loads of retirements from that, which was unbelievable to see. Yeah. So that was one controversy which was in the race. But the second one was that Sebastian Vettel actually retired from
I remember
an event.
That. At that point, it was fantastic.
Sebastian retiring from a gearbox problem. He couldn't find first gear. No, he didn't. Sorry, he lost first gear. He lost drive, and he retired, which was his first retirement since Abu Dhabi of 2011, which again was caused by a puncture. So this was car failure, but obviously at that point it was just one of those things. Something to stop him in the fight, obviously in 2013. Which, by the way, 2013 he went to the top of the table in Malaysia and stayed there for the rest of the season. So we needed something to bring him back to earth, and this definitely did. He parked up on the main straight, got out of the car and was not happy. And that really, I think that opened his eyes. A bit like Hamilton in 2012, that opened his eyes to think, Red Bull, they're not my dream team anymore. We can't fall
Yeah.
We can fall over some hurdles, which obviously he didn't like.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was a great race to see. The sorting positions like mad. Mark Webber was the leader of the race for quite a few laps until Nico Rosberg took the lead and finished only 700th be ahead of Mark Webber, which was absolutely unbelievable.
Very close.
They were two amazing drives. Obviously, won the British Grand Prix before Mark Webber having an amazing run in Silverstone, but Nico ultimately being on the top step. And he remembers this to this day as being one of his sweetest wins in Formula One, and it really was. It was a great race for him, a great race just for him, not for Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I mean, loads of these drivers were having problems, but it was problems not caused by their own fault and not caused by the team. It was almost like another element, and that's one of the great things I thought about 2013. There was just another element of something going wrong.
Yeah.
Which was great. It was caused, if you don't know, it was caused by the curbs being too high and not sticking out. Those unturned drains, and basically Silverstone had to kind of revamp the track because they hadn't thought it through really. The tyres weren't strong enough as well. It was almost like going out with too soft of your tyres on your bike. If you do that, you're more prone to punches when the tyres weren't strong enough. And obviously in Germany, the next race, they were stronger with Kevlar belts, and which withstand to this day. So that was a very standout race, and that's why I wanted to talk about this in this episode. Yeah. So it was great. One winner that I talked about was a British winner, but then the other one was a German winner, but just a race that had everything in.
Exactly.
And to watch it, I don't know about you guys out there, I hope you enjoyed watching it, but I absolutely loved it. It was an eventful race.
It was.
I already love Silverstone. I mean, everyone loves Silverstone from Britain.
Everybody does.
But that just made it even sweeter. That race was amazing. Just because it had loads of problems, and I love that kind of thing. I mean, I want everyone to finish, and I want a great, Formula One race. Yeah. On the other hand, you want a fun race. You want loads of, almost like unexpected things to happen. So it was wow.
Exactly. I mean, watching that race, it was literally like, what is going to happen next? Nobody knew. It was like, is such just going to get a punch hit? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? But more importantly, what we were thinking, is someone going to get seriously hurt? I think that's what Hamilton said in an interview after the race. I think he said, they won't do anything unless somebody gets seriously hurt, because before that, at the start of the 2013 season, these tyres weren't as strong, they weren't as good. No. Well, this is what the drivers were saying. They were like, these tyres aren't as good. Like they changed the compound, they changed out the way they make the tyres from 2012 into 2013. It was new rubber and stuff, and the teams and the drivers didn't really like it. So obviously, from Germany or Hungary onwards, they reverted to what the tyres used to be like, sort of stronger and obviously loads better.
Yeah, Kevlar was introduced because the tyre. Well, when you said the tyres were changed, JT, you're right. They were made lighter because of the regulations. Much lighter, which obviously, again, as I say, is much dangerous. A bit like your bike. If you think you'll save weight by putting your tyres down, than having them rock solid for racing, then that's going to be more prone to punches and things like that. Kevlar was introduced in Germany, and that's what stands at the moment. So
Yes. Exactly. I mean, obviously, 2013 British Grand Prix. I remember it because I think that was the weekend where Mark Webber announced his retirement from Formula One, which was, in two ways, it was a bit of a shock, but at the same time, it was like we kind of seen it coming, because obviously what happened with his relationship with Sebastian Vettel wasn't exactly the best, and obviously Multi 21 happened earlier that season, so it was like, in a way, it was like, I didn't see it coming, especially this early. But I mean, I can see why. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. But a Grand Prix that I'm going to quickly mention, just before we end this episode, is obviously the 1950 British Grand Prix. So, obviously, I'm not entirely sure. I think I think Ascari won it, I believe. I'm not too sure. But the only reason why I'm going to mention this Grand Prix was because it was the first ever Grand Prix. It was first ever. Well, sorry, it wasn't the first ever Grand Prix. It was the first ever race to be held under the name Formula One. It was the first season of the Formula One Championship. This is where Formula One was born, at the 1950 British Grand Prix on the 13th of May, 1950. So again, that was a bit of an honourable mention for that particular Grand Prix. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you are enjoying our F1 British week so far. Yesterday, catch our video where we did the story of the British Grand Prix, where we talk about how it was born. How it came about to where it was, and obviously we go into a little bit more depth about obviously the background of it as well. Some things that you may know, that you may not know. I mean, go and check it out if you haven't already. Also, tomorrow I'm going to be doing an F1 2015 video of Silverstone. I'm not too sure who I'm going to do. I might do Hamilton or Button. I'm a bit debating who to do about that, but obviously stay tuned to find out who I do then, how well I get on. And obviously don't forget to check out our remaining videos for the rest of the week as well. Trust me, catch them. They'll be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe for more, and obviously don't forget to hashtag F1 British Week if you want to interact with us as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you later.